Today we will be discussing some examples in valence bond theory. Okay, all of you might have seen that videos which I have already given to you. I have given to you explaining different bonds in the valence bond theory, how sigma bond is formed, how pi bond is formed. Okay, so first the valence bond theory. The thing we are going to discuss is valence bond theory. Okay. Now, what is the first assumption of the valence bond theory? The central metal atom makes available. Okay, so here the metal atom should make available all the orbitals for the bonding. Central metal atom makes available a number of vacant orbital equal to its coordination number. What is the coordination number? We all know the number of ligands which are directly connected to the central metal atom gives the coordination number of that metal. Okay, so how many ligands have to come and form bond with this central metal atom? That many orbitals the central metal atoms makes available for the ligands to come and form bond with them, So the bond is between the vacant metal orbital and ligand orbitals. The bond is between the orbitals. So now what happens if a bond is between the orbitals? We have to see how they are forming a bond. All of us basically know there are two types of bonds. One is a sigma bond and another one is a pi bond. Now, the bond that is formed between the central metal atom and the ligand is called covalent bond because the electrons required for the bond formation are completely shared by the ligands. Both species are not contributing the electrons. Only ligand is contributing the electrons. So the covalent bond is formed by the head-on overlap of a vacant metal orbital and filled ligand orbitals. See, so bond is a covalent bond. How this covalent bond is formed? Head-on overlap. These terminologies are very important. Head-on overlap. Overlap is between the vacant metal orbitals and filled ligand orbitals. So, suppose if you take like this one bond. Okay. This is a completely filled ligand orbitals. And this is vacant metal orbitals. Okay. Now, in addition to, so this head-on overlap gives you a bond is called sigma bond. Bond is called sigma bond. In addition to the sigma bond, there is also another possibility, that is pi bond possibility. Now what is this pi bond possibility? In addition to the sigma bond, there is the possibility for the pi bond. I am writing short forms. Please make sure that you will not write in your examination these short sentences. Possibility of pi bond. How this possibility of pi bond is taking place? Because of the side to side sideways overlapping. Sigma bond is because of the head-on overlapping. This pi bond is because of the sidewise overlapping. Now, whatever may be the type of overlapping, the overlapping is always between the empty metal orbital or vacant metal orbital and filled ligand orbitals. So if you have a ligand again, metal orbitals are there, it will have another bond. Again ligands are there, there is another bond. Okay, so this gives you a strong pi bond. The sidewise overlapping. The sidewise overlapping gives you pi bonding. Gives you pi bonding. A strong covalent bond is formed. Now, a strong covalent bond is formed only when the orbital overlap to the maximum extent. Stronger the overlap equal to the stronger the bond. Stronger the covalent bond. How strongly or how closely the metal orbitals are overlapping with each other, that will be the strength of the covalent bond. This maximum overlap is possible. The maximum overlap is possible only in when the metal vacant orbitals undergo a process called hybridization. The strong bond, the covalent bond can be very strong if the metal orbitals undergo a process called hybridization. A hybrid orbital has a better directional characteristics than unhybridized one. So always the bond can be very strong between the metal and the ligand in a complex if the metal orbitals formed or overlapped are as a result of the hybridization. As a result of the hybrid. Yes?
Sister Amina കേറാൻ നോക്കുന്നുണ്ട്.
Let her be there. So stronger the overlap will be the covalent bond, and when this covalent bond is becoming strong is if the metal orbitals are hybridized orbitals. Now, what type of an orbitals can be hybridized in the metal? Okay, we will be seeing now the process of a hybridization or the type of orbitals that are undergoing the hybridization in the metal. Okay, there are numerous metal orbitals are there. In each metal, there are three type of an orbitals. One is an s orbital, p orbitals and d orbitals. Because here in the coordination complexes, mainly we are concerned with the transition metals. Okay, now all the coordination complex, mainly you are going to study metals involving from a d block elements. Metal involving from a d block elements. So if a metal is coming from a d block element, automatically we know that the orbitals will be s orbitals, p orbitals and d orbitals. Okay, what happens now? The hybridization, yes, p and d undergo hybridization, giving different type of geometries, each orbitals when they undergo hybridization, when these hybridized orbital overlap with the ligand orbitals, they give different structures. Suppose if the hybridization is between the coordination number, suppose if you think that coordination number 2, what do you mean by coordination number 2? There are two ligands which are coming to form bond with the metal. And hybridization, type of hybridization. What type of hybridization they can undergo? Most probably an sp hybridization. then what type of a geometry it will be giving? It will be giving most probably the geometry is linear shape. Only two orbitals are there. For example, if there is a metal here, two ligands are coming, L1 and L2, then you have this shape as a linear shape. Example for this coordination complexes are, for example, Ag, NH3 twice. This is a complex. Okay, example. Now, if it is a coordination number 3, the hybridization is 1s orbitals and 2p orbitals, and it can be triangular planar. Triangular planar. Now, the example for this is, there are different complexes. I am writing only a few for our understanding. Now, if coordination number is 4, now what happens? The type of hybridization can be sp3. The shape will be tetrahedral. Okay. For example of this compound is NiCO4. Nickel complexes most probably gives these shapes. Okay. Now, if a coordination number is 5, DsP3. Only possibility for the p orbitals are, only three p orbitals are there, that is px, py, pz. Okay, so 1s orbitals are there. Now, if there are 5 means 1 d orbitals, 1 s orbital and 3 p orbitals are combined together to form a hybridization or coordination number 5. If 5 ligands are coming to the central metal, suppose there are 5 ligands which are coming to the central metal. Okay, so this can be one shape. By which this metal has to form a bond with the ligands. So 1 d orbital, 1 p orbital and 1 s orbital will combine together to give rise to a 5 orbitals, because the coordination number is 5. So 5 ligands have to come. So mainly the shape of this type is triagonal bipyramidal. Bipyramidal. Example is FeCO 5 times. All of you know the triangle bipyramidal shape. This is L1, L2, L3, L4 and L5. So this is triangle bipyramidal. Triangle is there, then there is a possibility for the two pyramidal bonds. That's why it's called a triangle bipyramidal. Now, another one is if coordination number is 6. That means 6 ligands are coming. Metal orbital has to keep ready 6 vacant orbitals. So 1 s orbital, 3 p orbital, balance 2 orbitals are from D2. Okay, so the possibility is D2sp3. It can be an octahedral geometry. All of you might have seen in the crystal field what I have shown you. Then the complex example for octahedral is 3+. Now there is another possibility. It is not necessary always n-1 d orbital. It can be n+1 d orbitals also. There is a possibility. That means if the coordination number is 6, outer d orbitals also can participate in the bonding. That I will explain to you little later why in some cases inner d orbitals are participating and in some cases outer d orbital. That means here n-1 d orbital, here n d orbitals. Here also shape is octahedral. For example, here COF6, cobalt F6 complexes are example for this. So all of you should have a clear understanding of the type of geometry and hybridization and complexes. If the coordination number is 2 always hybridization is an sp hybridization, and the geometry will be linear in shape. So now we will be seeing different type of examples how this valence bond theory can be applied to different complexes. Okay, so for example, first complex what we are going to see is mainly coordination complexes of 4 coordination number and 6 coordination number complexes only you have mainly to study. That means 4 coordination number means all of you know it can be a tetrahedral. Now the valence bond theory is saying that it is a tetrahedral shape, but later theories you will know that it is not only a tetrahedral shape, there is a possibility for the square planar also. So we will be seeing valence bond theory can be applied. Valence bond theory can be applied to different type of complexes. Now we will be seeing when this theory is applied to tetrahedral complexes. Tetrahedral complexes. Now what is this tetrahedral complexes? Tetrahedral complexes means now itself you know it is a 4 coordinated complex. 4 coordinated complex. That means there are 4 ligands which have to come. 4 ligands have to come. Okay, 4 ligands to form a bond with a central metal atom. For example, to explain this tetrahedral complexes, let us consider an example of nickel complex Ni NH3 4 times 2 plus. Okay, now all of us know what will be the oxidation state. What will be the oxidation state of this central metal atom nickel? Okay, nickel will be having this oxidation number as +2. You know that 4 in x plus, suppose if you forget how to calculate, x is equal to +2. That means nickel is having a +2 oxidation state. Now we will be seeing what happens to this nickel. What is the nickel system? How many d electrons are there for the nickel? Nickel is having a scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel. Nickel is having a configuration of d8 electrons. d8 electrons. That means 3d orbitals. Nickel is belonging to a 3d transition series. It is having a 8 orbitals, 8 electrons, because it is a +2, 3d8, 4s2. If it is +2 means the 2 electrons from s orbitals are given away. That's why nickel is having 3d8. 3d8 only will be its valence electron configuration. So now what happens if you take nickel +2? That means it is having 3d8 electrons. It has to keep, so now draw 3d 1, 2, 3d orbital, 4s orbital, 4p orbitals. Okay, 3d series, 4s, the 2 electrons are gone away. That's why it became nickel +2 and 4p orbitals. Now there are 8 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It has to keep ready 4 vacant orbitals. Vacant orbitals. Not simple vacant orbitals, 4 hybridized orbital. It has to keep ready 4 hybridized orbital. Now, which are the orbitals that can participate in the bonding is 1s orbital and 3p orbital. So So an sp3 hybridization. sp3 hybridization. So what happens here? The vacant 4s orbital and vacant px, py, pz orbital combines with ammonia. That means nitrogen has a lone pair of electron. So it comes with 4 ammonia ligands to form a tetrahedral complex. So what is the electronic configuration here? Is it a diamagnetic complex or a paramagnetic complex? It is a paramagnetic complex. Okay, magnetic moment can be calculated as root of n into n plus 2. Okay, last time I asked Alina Sebi, she said this, mu s is equal to root of n into n plus 2. The number of unpaired electron is root of 2 into 2 plus 2, that is equal to root 8. If it is a root 8, if it is a root 9, it is 3. Since it is a root 8, most probably this will be having 2.83. Since there are lone pair of electrons, it is a paramagnetic in nature. Okay, I suppose all of you understood this. This is the tetrahedral complexes we are dealing. Now I will be explaining to you why this same 4 coordination number only a complex is having, but it is taking a square planar shape. Okay, it is undergoing an sp3 hybridization. So it is having a tetrahedral complex with 4 coordination number. There are some complexes having a 4 coordination number but taking a square planar shape. So now we are going to deal with the square planar complexes. Now for this, let us consider another example. Okay, square planar means it is a 4 coordination. 4 ligands have to come. Now for example, take another complex, that is nickel Cn 4 times 2 minus. Same like the previous thing only, we are going to see nickel here. What is the oxidation state? Again here nickel is having a oxidation state plus 2, x plus 4 into minus 1 minus 2. That means x is equal to plus 2 is the oxidation state. Nickel is having a configuration 3d8, 4s2. When we say nickel plus 2, the 2 electrons from an s orbitals will be completely gone. So it is having only 3d8. So now what happens? Nickel 2 plus in NiCN4. So NiCN4 will be having configuration 3d8, 4s and 4p orbitals. Let us see what it is. There are 3 orbitals, px, py, pz. All of us know dxy, dyz, dxz, dx square minus y square, dz square. Okay, now what happens here? 3d8. Now, according to the valence bond theory, here the d8 electrons are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Electrons are paired up. Whereas in this case, electrons were not paired up.
Okay, you see here this also is having same 3d8 configuration, but here electrons were not paired up.
In this case, nickel, same metal, when the ligand is changed to cyanoligand, the electrons are paired up against the Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. What Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity says is, first an electrons are completely singly occupied, then only pairing will take place according to the increasing energy order. So, first for a given condition, all the electrons should be singly occupied in each orbitals. Then only the pairing has to take place. But here, it is going against the Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, and electrons were forced to pair up. So, again what happens, nickel has to keep ready 4 d orbitals. So, 4 vacant orbitals, not d orbitals. 4 vacant orbitals.
ക്ലിയർ ആവുന്നില്ല സിസ്റ്റർ, ബ്രേക്ക് ആയിട്ടാ കേൾക്കുന്നത്.
I think there your net problem. Here my net is very strong.
ഇപ്പൊ ക്ലിയർ ആയി സിസ്റ്റർ, ഇടക്ക് ബ്രേക്ക് ആയിട്ടാ വരുന്നത്.
Here my net is very strong because it is not BSNL, it is Geo, it is very strong here. Okay, so now what happens is, here you will see that 4 vacant orbital this nickel has to keep ready for the cyano-ligands to come and form bond. Here the 4 orbitals that nickel kept ready is actually 4 s orbitals and 3 p orbitals. But in this case, nickel is keeping ready 1 d orbital, 1 s orbital and 2 p orbitals. So the orbitals which are going to participate in the bond is actually 1 d orbital, okay, 1 3d orbital, 4s 1 orbital, s has got 1 orbital, and p 2 orbitals. So actually the hybridization is dsp2 hybridization. See, case is entirely same. Nickel complex plus 2 oxidation state. Only ligands have been changed. But in one case the hybridization is sp3 hybridization, and in another case it is dsp2 hybridization. Now we don't know why in one case electrons are paired up and in another case electrons are not paired up. We don't know the reason. And Werner also did, even valence bond theory, Alfred also did not give what is the reason why in some cases he is showing. Linus only gave this theory, and Linus couldn't give a reason why he made some complexes electrons to be paired and some other complexes they were not paired. He did not give a reason. That was one of the demerits for the Linus-Pauling valence bond theory. Okay, he couldn't give a proper reason why in some cases for tetrahedral complexes are forming, in other cases square planar complexes are forming. So here, if the hybridization is dsp2, then the complex is a square planar complex. That we will be explaining a little later. Okay. Now always science happens based on somebody's demerits. First, Werner's theory, Bloomstrand-Jorgensen's theory was there. Some demerits were there in that theory. So again Werner came and proposed another theory clarifying all the demerits of the Bloomstrand-Jorgensen's theory. Now again when Werner's theory came, there also some defects and demerits. Valence bond theory comes, that is Linus-Pauling comes saying that Werner's theory has these defects. Now I will explain to you my reason of clarifying all the demerits of the Werner's theory. Now when Linus came with the valence bond theory, he gave some reasons. He explained some demerits of the Werner's theory, but valence bond theory also had some demerits.
Again comes crystal field theory explaining why Linus gave in some cases pairing is taking place and some cases electron pairing is not taking place. Sometimes inner d orbital is participating in the bonding. In some other cases external d orbital is participating in the bonding. So he couldn't give a theory, but crystal field theory satisfies this. Again, crystal field theory also has some demerits. Again comes a molecular orbital theory. So far, molecular orbital theory is the last theory for the explanation of the coordination complexes. Now we will see what happens for the octahedral complexes. Now, what is the magnetic moment in this complex? What is the magnetic moment in this complex? Magnetic moment is mu s is equal to because it is only spin only magnetic moment. We are considering only spin only magnetic moment, and into n plus 2 there are no unpaired electrons, so it is a 0. It is a 0 and it is a diamagnetic in nature. Now we will be considering octahedral complexes. Octahedral complexes. Now, to explain octahedral complexes, I am taking an example of one complex, that is octahedral complex means you know that it is a 6 coordination number. Octa means 6 coordination number. That means 6 ligands have to come to form a bond with it. So example for this is cobalt NH3 6 times 3 plus. Now whenever you get this, first thing what you have to do is to calculate the oxidation number. So X is equal to plus 3. That means cobalt is in plus 3 oxidation state. Now, what is the electron configuration or valence electron of the cobalt? Cobalt has a D7 system. Okay, cobalt is having 3D7, 4s2. Since when it is a plus 3, what happens? 2 electrons from s orbitals, 1 electron from d orbital will be going. So it will be carrying 3d6. It is becoming a d6. It is becoming d6. Okay. So now let us see what happens. Cobalt 3 plus in CONH3 6 3 plus complex. Now, what are the orbitals that are participating in the electronic bonding? 3D series, 4s and 4p. So, 3D orbital, all of us know there are 5D orbitals. That is dxy, dyz, dxz, dx square minus y square, dz square. 1 4s orbital and 3 4p orbitals. 3 4p orbitals, that is px, py and pz. Now 3d6, that means it has to keep ready 6 vacant orbitals for the bond formation. 6 vacant orbitals for the bond formation. Now what happens you will see. Now here also, against the Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, electrons are forced to pair up. Keeping ready d2 orbitals, 1s and 3p orbitals for a hybridization. So here the complex is having d2sp3 hybridization. Now the magnetic moment is spin only magnetic moment.
I am always repeating this because now when I am teaching PG, they are also getting confused to why this only spin, only magnetic moment. Please remember whatever you are studying here, coordination chemistry is very important basics for your PG also. So there is no magnetic moment. It is diamagnetic in nature. It is a diamagnetic in nature. Now, there is a possibility. All of you can ask, sister, if it is not paired up, which are the orbitals that can participate in the hybridization is 4s, 4p and 4d orbitals. Now, why? It is n minus 1d, ns and n orbitals are participating. Okay, so actually valence bond theory, Linus couldn't give an explanation why in some cases he is pairing up, why in some other cases he is not paired up. Suppose if you take another complex explaining the octahedral complex, I will give you another complex also. Suppose if you take another complex, octahedral complex only, if you take ion complexes Fe, H2O, 6 times 2 plus complex. Now, what is the oxidation number here? What is the oxidation number here? Can you anybody?
+2.
+2 oxidation state, isn't it? So what happens here? It is what is the electronic? How many electrons it is having? Is it a D6 system, D7 system? What is that? It is a D6 system. Scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron. 3D6. 4s2 is the electronic configuration, and when it is having +2, 6 into 0 +2, x is equal to +2 state. That means iron +2 means it has to give up these 2 electrons and it become 3d6. 3d6. Now it has to. Now what happens? Iron in FeH2O6 2 plus. What is the configuration? It will be 3d6 system. 3d orbital, 4s orbital, 4p orbital, and here 4d orbitals also are there. So 3d, 4s, 4p, 4d orbitals. Now what is 3d6? That means there are 6 electrons. There are 6 electrons. Now in this case, he is not pairing up. He is not pairing up. So the 6 vacant orbitals, 6 ligands, 6 water molecule to come and form bond with this central metal atom, it keeps ready. Here one water molecule comes. Here one H2O, H2O, 4 are over. Again next it comes here H2O, H2O. So here the hybridization is actually 4s orbital, 4p orbital and 4d orbitals. So the hybridization is sp3d2 hybridization. It is paramagnetic in nature. All of you know that since there are unpaired electron, it is paramagnetic in nature. The magnetic moment is root of n into n plus 2. That is, there are 4 electrons. 4 into 4 plus 2. Isn't it? Now, it is root 24.
25 means root 5, 24 means just less than 5, just less than 5. It is almost like a 4.90 etc. It will be magnetic moment. Okay, now same way I will be explaining one more complex. You will see there. Did you notice the difference here? Here octahedral complex cobalt 3 plus case, it is against the Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. It became paired up. Now here in this case Fe H2O 6 plus, again it is a 3D6 system, D6 system. It is not paired. It is giving a paramagnetic complexes. In one case, inner d orbitals are participating in the hybridization. In another case, outer d orbitals are participating in the process. Now, what is the difference? Why this difference that is taking place? Suppose he couldn't give any explanation. So, there are some defects in the valence bond theory. Some defects in the valence bond theory. Now, what can be the defects in the valence bond theory? From this theory itself you will understand, since I have explained to you the assumptions. Based on the assumptions I explained to you different complexes. Now itself you will understand. Now most of you may know, in one case sister it is a cyanoligand, that's why it got paired up, because that now we have that previous knowledge. Imagine when the science was not developed, only valence bond theory only was there. The people couldn't understand. In some cases you are pairing up, in some other cases you are not pairing up. Now itself, those of you who did not go through my videos like crystal field theory etc., when I have explained to you strong field ligands, weak field ligands, everything, will not understand it. Sister, why some cases you are pairing up, some cases you are not pairing up. Sometimes it is n-1d orbital that is participating in the bonding hybridization. In some cases it is nd orbital that is participating in the hybridization. It is a great confusion for most of you. So these are the defects of the valence bond theory. So the first defect was the valence bond theory does not take into account the splitting of the metal orbitals. Imagine here there are d orbitals with electrons. So electron cloud is there, electron density is there. And imagine again 6 ligands with electrons are coming. What happens actually? A repulsion has to take place. Already high electron density is there with a negative charge, negative cloud around the central metal atom. Again imagine some other ligands, 6 ligands are attacking that central metal atom from different directions with the same negative charge. So automatically equal charges repel. Opposite charges, same charges repel. Opposite charges only attract. So what happens? Same charges, repulsion has to take place. The complex have to collapse because of the high repulsion. But complex has not been collapsed, but it is remaining as it is. So one is, he did not explain actually the splitting of the d orbitals. Another first defect can be, he did not give any explanation. First defect can be, he did not give any explanation for the splitting of metal d orbitals. Now you know what is the splitting, because all of you have gone through that videos, I suppose. Now I will be asking to show you notes. If I say to show notes, most of you will be writing now. Okay, now another demerit can be, he did not explain. Okay, the unstable account or predict relative energies of different complexes. In some cases, I have explained to you this point that some cases inner D, some cases outer D is participating. He couldn't give a proper explanation for this. And another demerit is actually, it was not helpful in the interpretation of the spectra. You will see when you go for deeper into studies, all these complexes are subjected to the spectroscopic techniques. And for you, we are already simultaneously studying little spectroscopy also. I gave you some introduction about the spectroscopy. Again, soon I will be giving you UV spectroscopy, IR spectroscopy, NMR spectroscopy. So when these complexes are subjected to the spectroscopic studies, he couldn't give a proper interpretation why some spectra are coming in different peaks. Okay, now this theory also failed to explain the reaction rates and the mechanism of reactions with the complexes. It does not explain why certain four coordinated complexes are tetrahedral, certain complexes are square planar. Okay, so these are the sum and its magnetic properties. Why in some cases it is paired up and becoming diamagnetic, and why in some cases it is not paired up and it is becoming paramagnetic. So these are 7 defects are there. There are 7 defects. One is does not take into account the splitting of metal d orbitals. Another one is unable to account for or predict the relative energies, different energies for a structured complex. Third one is he was not able to give a proper explanation of the spectra for the complexes. Fourth one is a mechanism of the reaction. He did not give a proper theory for the mechanism of the reactions with complexes. Then he did not give a proper explanation why some ligands are outer orbital complexes, whereas some of them are forming inner orbital complexes. And he did not give another explanation why some four coordinated species are tetrahedral, some are in square planar nature. Okay, he did not also give a proper explanation why some cases it is a paramagnetic in nature and some cases it is a diamagnetic in nature, and he is considering only spin only formula. What happens to the other magnetic moments? So these are the 7 defects which valency bond theory has and which he failed to explain. So these are the demerits. Okay, these are the valence bond theory.